Hello dear friends, we are going to cover our entire syllabus in next 60 days with the help of discussing PYQs. And we are going to follow this 9-dimensional framework to write a wonderful answer. That is our prime objective, that we create this kind of orientation in our mind that whenever we read a question, we try to make it holistic. We try to make it multidimensional. We try to make it as effective as we can make it to fetch maximum mark. So today's question is, Plato theory of education is the logical result of his conception of justice. Now come to this 9-dimensional approach. The first thing we need to do is interpretation of demand of the question. That is essential for us. If you are not able to correctly interpret the demand of the question, you are done. You are going to write something which is not addressing this one. And this will give the examiner this idea that student is clueless. He or she doesn't know what he or she is supposed to write. Now this is a very clear question. Here you have to establish the logical connection between theory of education and the theory of justice. This is what is expected from you. Now second thing is about writing the introduction. So when you write the introduction, you must establish the logical connection between the two concepts which has been asked. And there are different ways to write an introduction. So in this context, we can write an introduction where we can show that what is the prime concern for Plato in introduction. And while writing that, we can establish the interconnection between all the theories. I will tell you something here. Now, we can bring several dimensions. And when we are bringing these dimensions, always remember that you have to create a right proportion of those dimensions. The first thing is that we have to focus on the demand of the questions by giving it 50 to 60% space in the answer. So here you have to establish that theory of education and theory of justice should cover 50 to 60% space in the answer. Rest of the dimensions, you can create balance. Remember this thing. Then flow chart and diagrams, you have to bring that element. So while you are writing that what is the main concern of the Plato, by creating just and harmonious society, and then writing here theory of justice and theory of education. Just simple this thing. It is going to give the clear idea to the examiner that student know what is the prime concern of the Plato and how it is related with these two theories. This will give a clear idea, no confusion, nothing. Your content is clearly visible to the examiner. This is what he's supposed to do. Now comes the examples, books and references. So if you are able to interconnect this particular question with the contemporary example, your job is done. And if you remember any book where the theory of education and theory of justice has been prominently mentioned, you can write that too. Suppose in this context, we can write that in contemporary times, we see the corruption prevailing in the society, the social unrest. And why it is happening? Because those people who are supposed to do their work as per their aptitude, they are not doing that. Those who are supposed to handle the administrative affairs, political affairs, they do not have that kind of knowledge which is required for that. That is why this social unrest is happening. So we need complete overhaul of our education system so that we can produce those people who can do their job best. Interconnection. We can establish that, linking with the contemporary examples. Now theory integration. As the question itself is from theory, we are discussing here theory of education and theory of justice. So this itself reflects that the question is theoretical. Now here we have to clearly mention the theories and we link with the contemporary example. That is what is required. It reflects our conceptual clarity that we don't only know the theory, we are having that understanding to interconnect this with. Then the flow of argument. When you are exploring various dimensions, there should be a proper flow of those arguments. There should not be any kind of disjointed arguments. This is what is required from you. This is what is examiner is expecting from you, that you have clarity of thought and you can bring that in a logical format. You can show this is how you're thinking, your thinking pattern. So it is not just that your content, it is how you're presenting it logically, which makes sense. This you need to keep in your mind. Then comes the expression and keywords. Keep your expression simple. Simple and to the point. Don't add too much jargons. Keyword is fine. You can write the keywords. Don't add jargons. This is what is required. So when you are writing your theory of justice and theory of education, keep it simple. Don't bring the Plato's main concern and main ideas and all those things. Just come to those points only when you are addressing the main demand. Then comes the conclusion part. So all these 9 dimensions must be clearly accommodated, clearly being used while you are writing the answers. Now we are going to apply it in the answer here itself. So I will be primarily every single day when we are going to discuss these PYQs, I will be focusing upon this 9 dimensional framework, so that it get embedded in your subconscious mind, that whenever you are reading the answers, you must activate it. Okay, this is how I supposed to write my answer. You can self evaluate this. Am I following these things? Am I integrating this dimension in our answer? This is you need to do. Now question is about theory of education is the logical result of his theory or conception of justice. Now you have to establish, you have clearly identified the main demand, that is to establish a logical connection between theory of education and theory of justice. Now there are these 2 dimensions. So second thing is the introduction part. In introduction part, you write what is the key concern of Plato, and after that you bring this interconnection. You show that his key concern was to establish just and harmonious society, and how where people be happiness. That was the idea of Socrates. This is what he is following. How they can do this thing, how can they achieve justice in the society? That is the prime concern of theory of justice. How they can do this? When they do their whatever job is being assigned to them as per their virtues, as per the dominant quality they possess in their soul, they do it properly, then justice can prevail in the society. That is his conception of justice. You can or you should write first his prime concern is this, and how he wanted to achieve this through his conception of justice. So there are various communities, there are various segments in the society, and they must do their work as per their qualities, dominant qualities, their aptitude. So ruling class, soldier class, and then producing class. Dominant quality, wisdom, courage, and temperance. Now you should make a proper flowchart. Make flowchart. Let the examiner understand it, that you know these things properly. Okay, make your content visible. This is the main idea. So here what you are doing, you are integrating this particular dimension, 4th dimension, flowcharts and diagram. You are integrating it. Now what are you doing here? Now you have to link it with theory of education. So when we are clear about theory of justice, that why we need to have this dominant idea of justice to prevail in the society, to bring harmony and peace in the society, how we can achieve it, how we can make the people, how we can identify that what is the prominent quality a person is possessing, how we can ensure it, how we can make the people who deserve to become ruler. So it is a process. And how we can do this? We can do this through theory of education. This you need to write, that what they supposed to study under that framework of education, how it is going to help them to develop their qualities, what are the process they need to follow. You write it in very brief manner and establish that interlinkage. This is what is expected from you. So the theory of education is the logical result of his conception of justice. So when you are saying it clearly that his conception of justice is to bring this just and harmonious society, and it can be done only when we bring this kind of education in our society, then only these people are going to get identified, these people are going to follow what they're supposed to do. And the fourth conception, the fourth virtue which belongs to the state, that is justice, is going to get prevailed. So this is how you're supposed to write your answer, by integrating all these dimensions. Then you can write about that how it is also linked with his theory of communism. You can write how his idea of just state is being, prominently connected with these theories. So bring these dimensions and write in a very logical manner, progressing towards the conclusion. Keep your expressions simple, integrate keywords, and your answer is done. So we will be doing this every single day by discussing one PYQ and exploring these dimensions, so that it becomes very clear to your mind and you create a right kind of orientation to write good answers. I hope it helps. All the best.